Ladies, are you happy with the state of where men are at in general right now? Just the average man on the street, if we walk down, this street down here, are we happy with where men are at in society? Or we think they need to be more manly, less manly, sleeping with less, sleeping with more?
More manly.
I think they need to be more manly. So when people say toxic masculinity, I honestly feel like that's to water down the masculine energy men have and make them more feminine, that Timothy Chalamet guy or Harry Styles. Stuff like that. I could never be with a guy like that. I want a guy who can protect me and, just provide. And then the toxic masculinity, I feel like they need our feminine energy.
What's toxic masculinity?
It's made up. It's made up to water them down to be feminine. I do not believe in that. I think men need to be more manly. And they don't mean to be
you want the toxic.
Yes, we love it. Okay. We love it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
And then I was going to say, Brian, are you happy on the reverse with where women are at right now?
I mean, there's great women out there, but I think there's a trend in both men and women. Men are lacking in masculinity. Women are lacking in femininity. I think there's a lot of degeneracy and I think you have men addicted to porn. I think then that's something that you guys are on a crusade against, and then or helping men with at least. And women are, and also men are, very. I used to play video games, but I think a lot of men are suffering additionally from video game addiction. Maybe that's your next
who knows
thing.
Well, I was going to say, because we all have this moral relativism. I can never say that word correctly, but just you have an idea what you think is right. You have an idea. You have an idea. You have an idea. And it's interesting, as we were preparing for this, just going back to what do we believe? Where is our morals coming from? We all have this natural law in our heart of we know what's right, we know what's wrong. And when we look back, we said we got to go to the good book. We open up the Bible and we're looking at things like don't have premarital sex, don't be committing adultery, don't be sexually immoral, threesomes, you name it. And we looked at, why is this the case? Why is it we shouldn't be having premarital sex? And it was interesting just writing down, why would God say something like that? And we looked at, don't want to get pregnant before, don't want to have an STD before, don't want to bring shame to the family, don't want to bring something hard into the relationship. And also just especially, and this is my cry to you guys because I care about you guys, of the whole idea of, you're working with these boyfriends, but who knows who they are, because we don't know the names, we don't have IP addresses, and if there's somebody in their basement and they're saying, hey, I can lock her up and keep her down there, and it's just, it frightens me, and I care about you guys, and so I'm glad we're just getting to be here. I get to say something like that, but just coming back to where do we all draw our moral standards from? Because Brian's saying 10 women is fine, maybe one, maybe OnlyFans, maybe not OnlyFans, and some people are saying virgin, and where are we drawing these things from? And then bigger than that, is it working for us in society, or maybe should we start looking back to the good book instead?
I think the Bible's made up, and I think the 10 Commandments honestly was just something to kind of scare us into being good, into but I also feel like the Bible and the 10 Commandments is kind of a coping mechanism for some people to just live day to day and be good, do that, you'll get to heaven when you die. It's kind of just some assurance, when they die, they feel comfortable. But honestly, when you say premarital sex, I don't agree with that, because it's okay, you marry somebody, and what if you guys aren't compatible sexually? So it's and then you have to go through a whole divorce and all of that.
Well, a couple of things. First, when Beck and I first got married, it took time. It took time, and that's one of the beautiful things about marriage is exactly. I ain't going nowhere, you ain't going nowhere. We are iron sharpening iron. We are improving each other, and that's a really, really cool thing.
And there's this interesting stat of women have a lot more orgasms and sexual satisfaction when they're actually married. There was this crazy stat we read where it was only 11% of women will have an orgasm the first time they hook up with someone. Now, before I met Manny, I definitely struggled in college. I slept around for a time, and I never had an orgasm with someone. This is something people don't want to talk about. It's just even in porn, there's another stat where only 18% of porn scenes show women having orgasms.
Yeah, so the ones I've done, they make them fake it.
But when we talk about porn and it's female empowerment, but it's just like, it's not even showcasing women as important enough to get that enjoyment out of having sex, you know?
Yeah, it's a big part.
Sometimes, like, obviously you can get pleasure from not coming, and also sometimes it's just like, it's a job at the end of the day, like it's getting the job done. Like, you know, we're on set for like a long day. You're not going to be like sat there for 20 minutes, I don't know, trying to make yourself
Gosh,
orgasm.
I want to come back to the Bible thing for just a second, just because that was one thing of coming on and being in front of millions of people potentially like, what do you believe? And looking back at it, it was a very interesting thing. One of them was, we have to have objective truth, right? So you can't say my truth is the truth and your truth is the truth and your truth is the truth, because how do you know that to be true? So we have to have some truth. One of the things that atheists have said is that space, time, and matter, bam, the Big Bang. So if there was no space, time, and matter before, something had to be before. So some God, something had to be there before. And then we look at, could a miracle happen? Well, if God could create the world, then he can make miracles. And then you look at Jewish writers who were talking to Jesus, and Jesus saying, I'm the Son of God. It would be blasphemous for them to make this up. Just the whole idea of, hey, this guy, he died on a cross, took our sins, rose from the dead, performed all these miracles. It wouldn't make any sense for them to make him up. And I think one of the biggest things for my faith was just when Jesus ascended to heaven, he said, make disciples of all nations. And these guys went all over the world, and they all died crucifixion, eaten, stabbed, crucified upside down. And it's like, why would they have done that if they didn't believe? Now I have my personal faith, and I have evidence of, yeah, I can back that up, and I can look into these things, and archaeologically and historically we can look into it. But going back to the orgasm, because I'm going to be the big expert on that topic, just going back down quickly. You know, it's interesting, in porn, if you don't have a 14-inch penis and you're someone like me with only a 12-inch, you know, you're considered terrible. I wish, but, well, anyway. But the whole idea is, you know, you are shamed and you're never going to be able to please a woman. And the fact that, 75% of women can't even have an orgasm?
About 70% can't experience an orgasm from penis and vagina sex.
And it's interesting because if we just want to have orgasms, if we just want to do that, well, we can all jerk off to porn, we can all grab the vibrator, we can be by ourselves, and we don't need to be by anyone. And that's, you know, coming back to the original point of one of the things with men in this world, 63% of men are single by choice under 30, going, I got my girlfriend right here, I got my everything right here, I got my gambling, I got my weed, I got my alcohol, why do I need to go out and procreate? And it's crazy because we got a 1.6% birth rate right now. I'm doing my job, got our third on the way right now, and so we're trying to keep the earth populated, but it legitimately is a scary thing of this world could go extinct. So that's why when we look at the married men watching porn, we're going, you got to handle these problems. We can't be having more divorces. We can't have more single men saying, I want to stay single, I want to stay with you. Is, you know, I want you guys to make money and be able to survive and do all those things. I don't have a problem with that, but I think the bigger thing is looking at it in a much, much bigger light. And that was Becca and I. We just said, if this could save one marriage, if it could prevent one SA from happening, if it could prevent one self-deletion from happening, then it'd all be worth it. So big rant, big ramble, big all that stuff. But coming back to a way, way bigger point of just that whole concept of if it could save one life, if it could save one marriage, if it could prevent one SA from happening. I mean, literally thinking of that girl, thinking of that boy, you know, because people go down these rabbit holes and they're watching porn and they're turned on, and then all of a sudden they see something scary, and these neurons that are firing together now wiring together, and they see a woman get hit, and they're like, why do I have a boner right now after watching that woman get slapped? And there's a crazy stat, 20.7% of straight men have viewed gay porn in the last 6 months. And so you look at that, and I talk to these men all the time, and they're like, I watch this. I'm like, I don't even know what this stuff is. And they're like, it's like Andy in The Office, like, am I gay? And I'm like, dude, no, your brain has been
There's
hijacked.
a big reason for that, though. So I also went to school for psychology, and one of the things that we studied was porn addiction or corn addiction and things like that. And so people who become addicted to corn, vanilla sex then becomes boring to them.
Right.
So they go and they go deeper and deeper and deeper to a point where, well, now the only way that I can view sex is on my phone, and it's BDSM, things like that. And now they go to their wife and they're like, hey, I'm not performing correctly, or like, what's going on? It becomes such a deeper problem.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that earlier. Just, it's such a pervasive idea that like it's the partner's fault. Like I some way wasn't sexually pleasing enough for Manny that he had to go to this other source. But I wasn't designed for that. You know, like, I'm not a gangbang I'm not gonna meet
no.
that need. But like, people need new and novel. Like when someone starts out, what do? Like the average age that someone starts watching porn now is 8 years old. And at first it's, hey, I'm looking at a Playboy photo, or I'm looking at a Victoria's Secret magazine. Ooh, I'm sneaking it from my parents. Great. For a little bit, that's exciting. Then it's not. Then you need a lot more photos. Then you need videos. Then you need a lot wilder, crazier videos, and to the point where it's just like, of course, this is causing sexual dysfunction for people in their relationships, because it's meeting a need. It's not a need, meeting a desire that one person alone cannot ever satisfy, because this is how we were designed to be, one-on-one. And when you're able to just control it, it's